Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Grisdale. I spent 30 years studying sports, fitness, and human kinetics. I'd seen every contraption out there that purported itself to be a solution for someone's fitness. I'd heard every excuse. And I thought I'd come up with another every. Allow everybody, everywhere, every time they want to get active, to address every fitness component in one session. There's 4 fitness components. Cardiovascular health, that's aerobics, muscular strength, neuromuscular, which is balance, and flexibility. Those 4 components. And typically people get each one of those in a different setting, or a different session, or a different discipline. I vowed to put them all together in one setting, one place, one time. Tai Chi and yoga, for example, it's common. People say, I really like the feeling of it, but I wish it could address my need to get some cardio, or my need to get some strengthening. It's great for balance, and it's great for range of motion, but I'll go and do another class, or take another machine and do something else. So it was part of the way there, but they didn't address strength. The solution that we've got in gymnasiums just describes a solution that we've come up with to be able to lever weight. They've got you doing exercises like this and like this. And that's because the machine works on gravity, or it's got pulleys, but we don't live in this world, and we don't do this, and we certainly don't compete in sports that way. The way to add the strength element to the essential movements is to add resistance. So I looked at resistance tubing. Not bad, but then you had to have a number of them of different dimensions, because this one's not strong enough, and we need a stronger one, and then you need 3 or 4 of these darn things. And then I thought, well, they're not really very easy to hold. And then these came out with handles on them. But there's not much you can do with this except more 2-dimensional movement. Sports is all about 3 dimensions, living in this world, having your joints move in a 3-dimensional space. And then I had an idea. This tubing, I tied it in a knot and found something that I could get inside. I got 10 feet of it. And I found, here's the resistance in the 3-dimensional sphere that we live in. I stepped inside and realized I could do exercise in 3 dimensions. I could do movement along the dimensions that performance occurs. I could step inside the sphere that we live in, the sphere that we perform in, the sphere that we win in. But there's a problem with this stuff. Surgical tubing and rubber tubing's good enough for what it does, but it's not suitable for training muscles. Most people who work with it will say, I've tried it for a few times, but it's not the same. One of the problems with it is it gets weaker as it gets longer. When muscles are at their most important mechanical advantage and they need more resistance, these things become weaker. I discovered this material, a woven tensile band that's a combination of latex and nylon, but it's more than that. It has characteristics, strength, strain characteristics that are most suitable for training human muscle. It doesn't get weaker as it gets longer. It gets tighter as it gets longer. And when it gets tighter, it gives more resistance to the muscles, and that's training. The edge allows you to explore the space around you as far as you can, just like you do in athletics. People think your core is your abdominal muscles, but it's not. This is the core. If I stand and reach for this, I can pick it up quite easily. If I make it a little bit more difficult by stepping away from it and unconsciously say to anyone, pick that up from a distance away, the first thing you do is move like this. Out of balance, and your leg moves out, and that's an unconscious reaction, your brain saying, in order to accomplish this, I'm going to make some adaptations to the joints, to the muscles. It's done totally unconsciously. It's exactly how sports occurs. The science of it is that ultimately athletes perform around a gossamer thin line in the center of their body. The body-brain connection is the unconscious connection between the brain and the body, information going both ways. If I close my eyes, I can tell my arm is bent at 90 degrees. How's that happen? I can't even see it. My joint is telling my brain where my body is. There's communication going on there all the time. We just don't know it. Sport's even more complicated than that, because not only do you have movement occurring in 3 dimensions, you've got different muscles doing different things at different times. You've got something called cross-firing, when one arm is going like that and the other one's going this way to maintain your balance. The body-brain connection is stimulated when you're doing movement exercises like Tai Chi or yoga. When you add something like resistance or even cardiovascular demand, it heightens the connection, and it actually makes the experience even more similar to the sporting performance. The term warm-up has fallen into disfavor, and I kind of agree with that, in the sense that this other term's come forward called activation. Athletes and coaches in the know change the warm-up from something that's very passive, when athletes are not engaged in only physical engaged movements, to trying to connect the body-brain and engage the muscles and the core and the brain to prepare for 3-dimensional movement. That's activation. If I was to sum up what the EDGE does, it's A, B, C, D, E. Activate the body-brain core connection in 3 dimensions everywhere.